Imagine being on a ship. You have been at sea for 3 months. No fresh food, no vegetables, no fruit, just hard biscuits and salted meat. Your gums have started to bleed. Your teeth are falling out. Your legs are covered in bruises that appeared from nowhere. You are too weak to stand. And the worst part is that you will die unless someone gives you a single small yellow fruit. This disease was called scurvy, and for hundreds of years it was the greatest killer of sailors at sea. More sailors died from scurvy than from storms, more than from enemy fire, more than from shipwrecks. Historians estimate that between 1500 and 1800, scurvy may have killed more than 2 million sailors. 2 million people who could have been saved by a lemon. But before we get to sailors, we need to go much further back. To understand the lemon, we need to travel to the foothills of the Himalayas. In the ancient forests of northeastern India and northern Myanmar, a small thorny citrus tree was growing wild 10 million years ago. From this single ancestor, all citrus fruits evolved: the orange, the lime, the grapefruit, the tangerine, and the lemon. The lemon specifically is believed to be a hybrid, a natural cross between 2 other citrus fruits, the citron and the bitter orange. This hybridization happened somewhere in Asia, perhaps India, perhaps China, thousands of years ago. The exact origin is still debated by scientists, but what we know is that the lemon was already being cultivated in ancient India at least 4,000 years ago. Ancient Indian texts, including Sanskrit writings from roughly 3000 BC, describe a fruit called nimbuka, which most scholars believe was the lemon. The ancient Indians used it in cooking. They used it medicinally. They used it in religious ceremonies. The lemon has been part of Indian culture for so long that it is difficult to imagine Indian cuisine or Indian medicine without it. From India, the lemon traveled west along ancient trade routes. Arab traders carried lemons through Persia and into the Middle East. By around 700 AD, Arab merchants had brought lemons to North Africa and to southern Spain, which was then under Arab rule. Arab scholars were the first to write detailed descriptions of lemon cultivation and medicinal use in the Western world. The Crusaders, who traveled to the Middle East between 1096 and 1291, encountered lemons in the markets and gardens of the Levant. They brought some back to Europe. The lemon appeared in southern Europe, particularly in Italy and Spain, in the 11th and 12th centuries. In Genoa, northern Italy, records from 1150 document the lemon growing in the city's gardens. The Italian city-states, Genoa and Venice, quickly understood the commercial value of lemons. The Mediterranean climate of coastal Italy was perfect for growing them. Amalfi and Sicily, particularly the slopes of Etna and the Amalfi coast, became centers of lemon cultivation. These locations with their volcanic soil, sea breezes, and abundant sunshine, produced lemons of extraordinary quality. In medieval Europe, the lemon was a luxury. It was expensive. It was rare outside the Mediterranean regions. Wealthy households used lemon juice to preserve food, to flavor meat, and as a status ingredient in elaborate dishes. Medieval physicians prescribed lemon juice for various conditions, including digestive problems, and what they called foul breath. The lemon was both culinary treasure and primitive medicine. Christopher Columbus, on his second voyage in 1493, brought lemon seeds to the Americas. He planted them in Haiti. From Haiti, lemon cultivation spread throughout the Caribbean and into Central and South America. The Spanish and Portuguese planted lemon trees in every colony they established, partly for the sailors who needed citrus, and partly because everyone quickly came to love the fruit's sharp, clean flavor. And now we return to the sailors and to the disease that was killing them in horrifying numbers. Scurvy is caused by a deficiency of vitamin C. The human body cannot make its own vitamin C. It must come from food. Without vitamin C, the body cannot produce collagen, the protein that holds tissues together. Without collagen, wounds do not heal. Old wounds reopen, blood vessels break, the body literally falls apart. On long sea voyages, sailors had no access to fresh fruit or vegetables. Their diet was hard ship's biscuits, salted beef or pork, dried peas, sometimes cheese. After about 6 weeks, without vitamin C, the first symptoms appeared. After 12 weeks, the disease became serious. After 20 weeks, without intervention, many sailors died. The age of exploration was built on sea voyages. That often lasted far longer than 20 weeks. The mystery that confounded physicians for hundreds of years was that sailors sometimes recovered when they reached land, or when a friendly ship gave them fresh food. Some physicians noticed that citrus fruits seemed particularly effective, but nobody understood why, and institutional change in navies and merchant fleets was extraordinarily slow. Even when evidence was available, it was often ignored. The most famous figure in the story of scurvy is a Scottish physician named James Lind. In 1747, aboard the British naval ship HMS Salisbury, Lind conducted what is now considered one of the first controlled clinical trials in medical history. He took 12 sailors with scurvy. He divided them into 6 pairs. He gave each pair a different supposed cure, and he watched what happened. The results were unmistakable. The pair who received 2 oranges and 1 lemon daily recovered completely within 6 days. One man was fit for duty. The other had recovered enough to nurse the remaining sailors. The other pairs showed little or no improvement. Lind had proven, beyond any reasonable doubt, that citrus fruit could cure scurvy. He published his findings in 1753 in a book called a treatise on the scurvy. Here is the extraordinary and frustrating part of this story. Lind proved that citrus cured scurvy in 1747. The British Navy did not make citrus juice mandatory on ships until 1795, 48 years later. During those 48 years, thousands of British sailors continued to die from scurvy, unnecessarily, because institutions move slowly, because people resist change, because old beliefs die hard. The man who finally changed things was a naval physician named Gilbert Blaine. He had access to better data than Lind had. He calculated the mortality rates from scurvy across the British fleet. The numbers were catastrophic. He presented them to the Admiralty in terms they could not ignore. Scurvy was costing Britain more sailors than it was losing in actual combat. Finally, in 1795, the Royal Navy issued lime or lemon juice to all sailors daily. The effect was immediate and dramatic. Scurvy virtually disappeared from the Royal Navy within a few years. Sailors who had been dying by the hundreds were suddenly healthy. Fleet efficiency increased. The British Navy could maintain ships at sea for longer periods than ever before. The strategic advantages were enormous. Britain's naval dominance in the Napoleonic Wars was partly built on lemons and limes. British sailors who received lime juice rather than lemon juice in some periods of supply developed a nickname that has lasted to this day. Americans began calling British sailors limeys. The nickname came from the lime juice sailors drank. Today, the word limey is still used as a casual term for a British person, a fruit-based nickname for an entire nationality that has survived for 200 years. The lemon was also playing a major role in the American story. California, which would eventually become the lemon capital of North America, got its first lemon trees from Spanish missionaries in the late 1700s. The Mission San Gabriel near Los Angeles had lemon trees in its gardens by the early 1800s, but the real California lemon industry would only develop in the late 1800s with the growth of the railroad. When the Transcontinental Railroad was completed in 1869, California farmers realized they could now ship fresh produce to Eastern American cities before it spoiled. Lemons were perfect for this new economy. They lasted longer than most fruits. They were in demand across the country. By the 1880s, lemon groves were appearing across Southern California. The California lemon boom had begun. The story of how science confirmed what sailors and physicians had long observed is also remarkable. Vitamin C was not identified as the specific compound until 1928. A Hungarian biochemist named Albert Szent-Györgyi isolated it from adrenal glands, cabbages, and oranges. He won the Nobel Prize in physiology or medicine in 1937. For this discovery, the mystery that had puzzled scientists for centuries was finally solved. The lemon's flavor has shaped the culinary traditions of almost every culture it has touched. In Indian cooking, lemon is used in ways that are fundamental rather than decorative. Lemon pickle, nimbu achar, is one of the oldest preserved foods. In Indian cuisine, lemon dal, lemon rice, lemon in rasam and sambar. The lemon enhances the spices and brightens flavors in ways that nothing else can. In the Middle East, preserved lemons are a cornerstone of cooking. Whole lemons, salt fermented for weeks until their skin softens and their flavor transforms from sharp and bright to deep, complex, almost savory. Moroccan cooking, in particular, uses preserved lemons in tagines and salads and sauces in a way that is completely distinctive. The lemon transformed into something that barely resembles itself. Italian lemon culture is perhaps the most famous in the world. The Amalfi Coast produces the Sfusato amalfitano, a lemon so large and so intensely flavored that it is protected by European Union law as a geographical indication product. Limoncello, the bright yellow Italian liqueur made by steeping lemon peel in pure alcohol, was developed in this region, and it has spread around the entire world. In England, the lemon found a particular home in baking and drinks. Lemon curd, a thick, rich spread made from eggs, butter, and lemon juice, became a staple of British tea culture. Lemon tart, lemon drizzle cake, lemon posset. The sharpness of lemon, cutting through the richness of British butter and cream, is a combination that British bakers have been perfecting for centuries. Lemonade, perhaps the most beloved lemon drink of all, has a history longer than most people realize. The earliest known recipe for a lemon-based drink comes from Egypt in the 10th century AD. Arab traders brought the drink to Europe. In 17th century Paris, street vendors called limonadiers sold lemon drinks mixed with honey and water from tanks strapped to their backs. It was one of the first street food industries in European history. The lemon also has a remarkable history in cleaning and preservation. Before modern chemicals, lemon juice was used to bleach fabrics in the sun, to clean copper and brass by removing oxidation, to preserve cut fruit from browning, to keep fish and meat fresh for slightly longer. The acid in lemon juice was doing chemistry that ancient peoples understood empirically without knowing why it worked. In perfumery and cosmetics, the lemon has been essential for centuries. Lemon oil, extracted from the peel, has been used in perfumes since the Renaissance. It appears in some of the oldest and most famous fragrances ever made. Eau de Cologne, originally created in Cologne, Germany, in the early 1700s, uses lemon as a key note. The clean, fresh scent of lemon peel has been considered one of the most pleasant smells available to perfumers for over 3 centuries. The lemon has also played surprising roles in the world of art. Leonardo da Vinci used lemon juice as an invisible ink. He wrote notes in lemon juice that became visible only when the paper was heated. This technique was used by spies and secret correspondents for centuries. The phrase, "writing between the lines," has its roots in exactly this practice. Today, the world produces about 20 million tons of lemons every year. India is the largest producer. Mexico is second. China third. The Andalusia region of Spain and the Sicilian region of Italy continue to produce some of the finest quality lemons in the world. California, which began with those missionary trees in the 1700s, is still a major American producer. The tiny yellow fruit is now global. Modern science has confirmed that the ancient physicians were largely correct about the lemon's medicinal value. The vitamin C in lemons is a powerful antioxidant. The citric acid helps with kidney stone prevention. The flavonoids have anti-inflammatory properties. The limonene in lemon peel is being studied for potential cancer preventive properties. The lemon is not just culinary delight, it is genuine medicine in a yellow package. The lemon also tells us something important about the relationship between knowledge and action. James Lind proved in 1747 that lemons prevented scurvy. It took 48 years for the British Navy to act. 2 million sailors may have died of a preventable disease between the time it was identified and the time it was prevented. The lemon reminds us that knowing something and doing something about it are 2 very different things. The lemon has also entered language and culture in ways we barely notice. When life gives you lemons, make lemonade. The phrase, attributed to various sources, means to make the best of a difficult situation. A car that turns out to be defective is called a lemon. To lemon something out means to discover its flaws. The color lemon yellow is one of the most recognized color names in any language. A single fruit embedded in language across a dozen meanings. From the foothills of the Himalayas, where wild citrus first evolved 10 million years ago, to the Sanskrit texts of ancient India, to the Arab traders who carried it west, to the Crusaders who brought it to Europe, to James Lind's experiment on a cold British warship, to the California groves planted by missionaries, to the glass of lemonade on a summer afternoon, anywhere in the world, the tiny yellow fruit that saved sailors from a disease nobody understood, that preserved food before refrigeration existed, that cleaned copper and bleached fabric and carried secret messages, that built the lemon groves of Amalfi and Sicily, that gave British sailors a nickname that lasted 2 centuries, that gave the world the freshest, most recognizable, most indispensable flavor in cooking. Thank you for watching this story on Storia English. If you enjoyed learning English through this story, please subscribe to Storia English. Every week we bring you a new story from history, told in clear, slow, simple English, so you can improve your listening, vocabulary, and confidence, naturally, without stress. We will see you in the next story.